Hey, it's the Chief. Bonding with Board Games. We're going to be talking about Shadows over Normandy. Hello, kind of like Heroes of Normandie, but Shadows with a Cthulhu feel. Now, I also want to point out I've got this cool little statuette from Michael Garman Galleries. I grew up in Colorado, and I loved his statues, his military statues, and this gruff old sergeant just seemed perfect, and I'd just been going through a bunch of old boxes and found it, so it now sits back over here on my shelf. But this is the guy, well, I want to say that would fight Cthulhu, and he would, but it's so reminiscent of that tough, grizzled, kind of Battle of the Bulge sergeant. But I wanted to have him co-host, so boom, my folks got me this after basic training in the Army, so very nice. But enough of that. Shadows over Normandy. All right, here's what it is. Tactical war game. All right, if you've seen my review of Heroes of Normandie. So it's a tactical war game. Tactical war gaming meaning you're going to have small units, in this case, individual tanks, little fire groups, or even individual soldiers, whether they're leaders or heroes. And you've got a very close, tight terrain. So this is not, moving companies or even battalions or whole army groups. This is, hey, there's 3 guys or there's 4 guys. They're in a fire team and they're going to go attack those guys. However, you're going to have Cthulhu beasts that are in here, monsters. You're going to have guys going crazy when they see them, Cthulhu style. And you've got Nazis that are turned into, when I get in there, I'm blanking on the name right now, but they've got mythical something or another. They're basically doing the bidding of those that shall not be named. So that's what a tactical war game is, and this is married with that Cthulhu genre. I'm going to go in and show you how they do some of that, because one of the things they do with this is there's not any chart looking up at all. All the information's on the tiles, the boards that you're playing on, or on the units, other than some real basic, you got to know that this symbol means an assault and how many dice you're going to roll, and then you roll dice to resolve combat. But they've simplified the situation, handles 2 to 3. Yellow puts this out, and it's very, well, it's Cthulhu. I was going to say family friendly. It's Cthulhu and there's craziness, but my son loves this kind of stuff. He just turned 9. So just to give you that idea. So kind of a step up from Memoir 44, but tactical. Let's go in. I'll show you, not gritty detail, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to figure out the symbols on there and how play works. And then we'll come back. You'll get my final thoughts. All right, Shadows over Normandy. Standalone game from Yellow. It's a war game, World War II, with the whole Cthulhu mythos H.P. Lovecraft. So you don't have to own Heroes of Normandie, which this is based off of. This is a standalone. It would help, but you don't have to. And everything that is really done well in Shadows of Normandy has to do, let me set down this campaign book, by the way. I'll show you that in a little bit. The rules are so well laid out. So you've got everything on your counter is right here. And I'll go in and show you a couple counters, but you can see the amount of information that's placed on a counter. And it just tells you everything at a glance. So as you get to know the system, boom, you know what this does, that does, this does, that does. All right? But let's just look at the rules. Everything is thematic and very nicely laid out. And it just breaks you down through your turn order phases, your actions, how you get your units using these tiles. It has a Heroes of Normandy or Shadows over Normandy have a heavy miniatures feel done with cardboard, and it feels that way as you're playing. But you can see they deal with line of sight and zones of control. They get into heroes. Wow, that guy's so cool. I had to lose the page. All right, and you're going to have these big, bad H.P. Lovecraft monsters running around, and you got Nazis that have turned over to their side. I'll cover some of that when we get into this. So what you've got is tactical level combat explained in a very simple, easy format with the information being on the tiles. So let me show you this very cool campaign book. There's going to be 10 missions in here, and you're going to walk through them, and they've been doing this in their World War II games, that they give you kind of an overview of the map, so you feel like you're traveling through an area and you're getting deeper into the story. What they also lay out nicely as you move through is they slowly feed you harder or additional, I shouldn't say harder, additional rules. So you don't start the game having to know everything. You know, here's this vehicle, here's this monster, here's this special power, here's this certain hero. You kind of baby step your way in, but as you come in and you learn more, the game unfolds more and the story starts to unfold. Nice little comic, okay? All right, so the story unfolds and you start getting into your clarifications and your characters. Let me just show you this real quick, and I'll read a little bit of it because it sets up what you're doing here. Well, I'm not going to read it to you. Here's what it basically sets up. There's a guy that's got this group of rangers. It's a battalion, the Lost Battalion. The whole idea is that during the Normandy push, this battalion came up missing. Nobody ever knew what happened to it, or those that did suppressed it. And of course, this is the H.P. Lovecraft with these beings that drive you insane, drive you crazy. This gal is missing and they want to go rescue her. They're, of course, the, what do they call them? Section M. And Arian here, I think that's her name, Du Bois, has been lost, and this guy's co-opting these ranger units to go try to save her and fight these beasts. And as you go in, you're going to be having your guys panic and maybe even commit suicide and all these heavy H.P. Lovecraft things. And I'm just going to kind of quickly flip through so you can see how these scenarios break down. I think, well, they call them chapters, so chapter 1 through 10. And then they come in and they even give you player-generated clashes. You can go online, get some other chapters, some other missions, and there's even a place for fans of the system to share these around. So a lot of gameplay located in here, but these are fed out to you in a story format, which is very, very neat. What cards do in almost all tactical war games is they allow you to come in and have a little bit of fog of war, or break the rules for a little bit. So buying war bonds, you play after having activated one of your infantry units. There's a system in here using these command tokens that are also fog of war that allow you to activate units on the board. And some of these cards, like this one in particular, allow you to go back and reactivate a unit. You can activate it a second time, basically getting 2 movements or 2 battles out of it. So the cards are going to come in. Here's Black Sun, and it's going to have the flavor, and there's always a little bit of subtext, and then it's going to have some cool art, and they're going to allow you to do lots and lots of special and unique different things. And that gives you a lot of the fog of war that you'll lose sometimes in a tactical war game, when you can have perfect information on the units there, and this unit's here, and can he shoot him and can he not. By the way, there's little totems that go down on the board that allow like spells to be cast. There's some very weird stuff that I'm not used to in war games here, so we'll come to that in a second. And then here's the little creatures from the deep. And I'll just kind of thumb through so you can see these cards. Very high quality cards. You can see how they've imparted the feel for each of the different factions onto the card. I can't pronounce half of these things, by the way. I've only done a little bit of the H.P. Lovecraft. Let me show you, as you build units, you get these little trays, and these trays will allow you to have special units that will have a cost to them. So let's say you had 100 unit points, 35 of them could go toward having this, I can't say his name, but the Warrior of the Deep. All right, and then you can also come in and trick out the units with different things. With Rangers, it may be grenades or more command points. You can see this is going to allow me to have more fog of war command blocks that I can put down, and I'll show you those in a second. But these are very nice because you're going to get the unit on here, and it's going to tell you a little something about what you're getting. So you're going to get these. If they get destroyed, your opponent will actually get victory points based off of that. But you can see as you roll through, you can see who these guys are. And then again, these windows are where you can come in, and they've got a real neat system. Let's see, I've got a couple of them laid out here. They're actually for the Rangers. But you have a unique system where you can add in these little units that will fit in here. Again, now a bazooka would not go here, and you can tell it wouldn't go here because when I go to match it, you can see how the sides don't line up. So you would know, well, this unit can't have a bazooka. It has to have something. Let me go show you a unit that could have a bazooka. All right, if I go over to the American, so they have trays that are very similar. So you can now see, big thumbs. You can now see as I hold this up, see how they line up here? And that tells you if one side lines up, that tells you that that's something that this unit could have. All right, just looking at one of the units, I want to go over some of the basic detail. She could move 4. So if she's down on one of these squares, she could literally move 1, 2, 3, 4. Now some of those modifiers will be changed by the trees and everything, and those little markers down there, they will tell you exactly how it'll affect it. And I'll zoom in and show you that map in a second. But her movement's 4. Notice the same color. She's a ground unit, a foot unit, so these colors match because she gets a +1 die if she attacks another ground unit. This is her defense, so to get hit, someone would have to roll a 6 with any modifiers. This area over here is for armored units like tanks. She can't do anything to them. And if she were to attack a vehicle, a light vehicle, she doesn't get a bonus for that either. So those are always going to be the same. Now you got some things that show her assault ability and some different things, her search ability. But let me show you some of these other units. So here's just a little Ranger Scout Squad. BAR just means Browning Automatic Rifle. They can move 4 as well. Let me show you in comparison. But they get a +2. I'll try not to move my hands all over. They get a +2. They don't have as good a defense, but they do have a +2 when they attack a light vehicle, and they can't attack a tank either. So let's get into something that could. So here's your first vehicle. They can move 5. They're +3 on troops. This again shows you they're a light vehicle. Notice how the red matches up now. And when they attack a light vehicle, they get a +4, and they can attack a tank, a heavy vehicle, for +1. Again, some modifiers here. Let's look at a heavy vehicle. First of all, the tank has facing. It's going to be an 8 to hit if you shoot it from the front, 7 to shoot it from the side, 7 from the rear. This is going to show the main gun, and this is going to show like their secondary gun. Tanks have big, huge cannons, boom. They also have machine guns on them. So main gun is going to be +3 to troops, +5 to vehicles, +5 to tanks. I covered the defense. The movement's 4. And then if they're shooting their machine gun, it's +3 to troops, +5 to vehicles, and machine guns, this little pea shooter here would just bounce off the armor. So that shows you how the vehicles work and how these sit on the map is like so. So they're big, they're imposing, usually have way more than 2 tiles on here, and when they move, they always pivot on their front axis here, and then they can move. All right, but that's how these work. Now let me show you. Oh, I dropped a bunch. I'm all over the place, but let me show you some of these now. So these are kind of who you're going to be going against a little bit. So, all right, here's some little, I can't pronounce all these, servitors. So again, you can see movement, pretty darn good, 7 defense, and they can even do damage to tanks. Wow. All right, here's this little guy. All right, you can see he's a slow mover. All right, you can see all his defense. I'm not going to go through and reiterate. Oh, come on, focus. This is one of the ones I dropped, I'm sorry. All right, amphibian. All right, this is a new symbol. This wasn't in the other one, but this one's amphibious, so you can go into water areas. And then again, these are the same, so you can kind of see. This is a terror rating. If you see this vehicle, the Rangers vehicle, if the Rangers see this monster, they might go insane. And look at this guy. All right, look at that. He's going to make you go nuts. And he's huge. He can fly. Hello. And look at all this. Hard to kill. The green means that it's a monster. All right, 4, 3, 2. He can do damage to tanks. All right, and if you wound him, so you can see how he comes down. All right, so this, I don't know, he's not making me go crazy there, but I wouldn't want to see that in person. And he's gigantic. I mean, check him out. So he's bigger than a tank. I'm going to leave him down there. I've got a bunch of these. I'm going to flip through these a lot quicker. All right, just so you can get a feel. Boom. All right. Kind of want to show you now that you got all this information here. Look at those. Yuck. All right. Little militia. More tentacles. This is shooting a spine thrower. Goodness. All right. A few more. Because here's your actual, here's your Nazis that have gone all black sun on you. That's an officer. Here's a Panzerschreck, which is same as a bazooka. And a recon group. So these are very much like your Rangers. There's a fire group. So, and I got one more. All right, I know there's a bunch, but these just are so cool to look at. So this guy again, crazy. Dirt tote or whatever. You can destroy tank. I think I showed you those guys already, but hello. All right, just to give you some of that. Now, also, I love these overlays. So you have buildings, and these buildings will come in, sit down on the board, and it'll tell you that you can enter this building because it's got these arrows. So from these areas, these 3 hexes, or they're not hexes, squares, you can enter the building. And there's some different things where buildings give you some armor support or some protection, unless you're all in the building. All right, and they've got just these great little building pieces that just add so much visual eye candy, and they've got tactical abilities associated with them as well. Okay, I've zoomed in on a tile to show you how they impart information directly on the tile. And once you've got it, you're good to go. You can see we've got the same color scheme of a light vehicle and a tank. They are not allowed to move into this space. They flat out just can't do it. And if a regular unit enters in, they then have to stop. It's swamp, it's hard to move through. Now over here, you're gonna see you've got some trees here. So if your unit moves into this space, a foot or ground unit will actually get a +1 to defense. Trees are great for stopping bullets or whatnot. But if you're shooting through this area, this is going to minus you. It's a -1 to hit because the trees are obscuring your shot or your line of sight. In other words, it's kind of obscured. It's much harder to shoot at a unit here if you're over here. So I could do it, but I'm going to get a -1 as I try to shoot to that area. All right, I've set up what I want to show is basically how a turn phase will go, so you get a feel for it without me having to move them all around and show you all the actions. Set up an enemy unit here, Black Sun. We've got, I always say her name wrong, Aryan, Sherman tank. Here we've got, a Greyhound, and then I've got my little scout unit over here. So here's the units I have. Now, one thing that you're going to have is you're going to have these little order tiles, and I'm going to have a bluff one as well. So let's pretend I can only give 3 orders. Now the phases that a turn go through are the orders phase. I'm going to be doing that with these. Then we're going to have the activation phase, and then there's a supply phase. So how do these work? Order phase is as simple as my opponent cannot see what I'm doing or the order in which I'm going to activate these units. I could simply say, well, you know what? The Sherman is going to have a hard time seeing them. He can, but I want this one to go first, and I would set these up so that my opponent can't tell. And I could do it, I could be like, well, let's make him think that that this one's definitely, the Sherman is definitely going All right, but it's actually going to go third, but I set that down. And then I want to bluff him. Of course, he would probably figure out maybe, I don't know, maybe this unit's going to shoot, but you can see it's total bluff. He's not going to do anything. I want my little unit here to go second, and then this one to go here. Now he would do the same, or she would do the same by putting out the same kind of order tokens. Let's see, I have ones to show. So here's for the Black Sun, and they have a whole bunch numbered. And again, for the monsters, boom. All right, now you can have more of these. Matter of fact, if you get those little stars on your little trays, let's see one. All right, you get these, you're gonna get more of those order tokens. So this is how the fog of war would kick in, and then we'd simply say who has the initiative. Okay, this guy goes first. All right, for this little example of combat, I activate my first guy, so you can see, now again, my opponent wouldn't know the order in which these guys will be going, and it's gonna go, I would go with my 1, then he or she would go with their 1, then I would do my 2, then my 3, and when we're in the orders phase is the only time these units can shoot. Now some units, if they move, they cannot also shoot unless they have this symbol. It's kind of like a run and gun. So if they have this little movement order here, I'm going to take a -1 if I shoot, but let's just do it. Let's say he's down here and he just decides to move right up here. So he closes distance on him. So you're saying, what is he going to be rolling for? He's going to roll 1 single die. He gets a +3. Let's just pick him up. He gets a +3 because the color matches this. All right, now he's going to get a -1 off that. So now let's just say it's a +2, and he's got to equal or exceed the number 4. So he goes ahead and rolls a single die. All right, boom, it rolled off the deal. He rolls a 3. Remember, he's adding 2 to it. Normally he would add 3, but he had a -1. So now he's at 5. He equal or exceeded it, and he hit this unit. Now this unit, this says it can be flipped. It's not automatically dead, but it's been shot and it'll flip and it turns into this unit here. So you can tell it's red, it's in distress. If it gets hit again, it's dead, it's off the board. And that's as simple as combat works. So you've got your fog of war actions with these tiles that are out there. Because again, you've done your orders phase, then you've activated them, I go, you go, I go, you go, and then you come down to the supply phase, which is any units that didn't move, even ones that had a bluff marker on them. He can't shoot now, but he can come out and move around. So I could move him and get him into position. And that's it. The combat is very simple, and once you learn all of these little symbols on the side and what they mean and how everything works, all right, hello, boom, you've got it down and everything flows pretty quickly and you're just working towards your objectives. Again, that's just kind of a quick and dirty, but I think it shows you how the units function and work. One of the real neat things about this standalone expansion is all the magic and customizable things that you can do in it. I've zoomed in so I can show you the madness number here. This is a 2, this is a 6. This guy's kind of scary to look at. This one's terrifying and he's flying. So if at some point you have a unit that's suppressed, they've got a suppress marker on them, that means they're under some kind of duress and they have a clear line of sight of these monsters. You have to do a madness check. This is cool. This, I know from H.P. Lovecraft, just from playing Arkham Horror. You roll a die, and if you equal or exceed it, then you have to go draw from the bag of madness. So, of course, this guy, unless you got some modifiers, is going to make you go draw because you might be going mad. This one, maybe. All right, so you've failed your sanity roll. You're going to go a little bit crazy. All right, you can put these in a bag or you can flip them over. I actually like pulling them out of a bag, but let me flip all of these over and then I'll show you what they do. So, if I can remember, okay, well, suicide's easy. When suicide happens, you literally take a hit. So if you're a recon unit and you only got one hit, you're dead. It's like your units grabbed a grenade and just set it off. It was just too much madness for them to take. Now there's 7 different kinds here. Rage is basically you're just crazy and you go charging after the first enemy you can see. So you can see that little sword with the +3, and then the +3 over on the right. You're going to get a bonus, but you don't control them. They just charge headlong right at the closest enemy. Catatonic, just what it says. Catatonic means you can't move. You're basically frozen for that next round and you can't do anything. Steady, it had 0 effect on you whatsoever. Fear, you run away 4 spaces. So you're like, oh my God, flying monster, run away. Then you got paranoia. And paranoia, the unit can't receive any orders in the next phase, and it fires on the closest unit. Doesn't matter if it's a friend or foe. Oh my God, we've seen something weird. Oh, that's weird too. Shoot it. And if you're equally close to an enemy or an ally, you shoot at the ally because you're freaked out. Then you've got hysteria. Your unit just starts screaming. They just freak out. Now it does say you can deafen your opponent, but you just freak out, and then at the end of the next round supply phase, you discard the madness tokens, and then those tokens go back into the bag or flip them over. So these are very, very much Lovecraftian. Again, my only reference is Arkham Horror, but it definitely feels like now, yeah, you've seen this thing, and oh my God, your guys generally are just going to lose it. They're running away, they're freaking out, they're raging and going right after it. That doesn't make much sense. The paranoia, the catatonic state, the guy's just screaming. Okay, love that aspect of it. That is Cthulhu. All right, so Shadows over Normandy. Here's the deal, first of all. Yellow and Devil Pig really, really support this whole Heroes of Normandy system. Love that. Love it. I mean, there is module after module, scenarios. They've got their gazettes, which are phenomenal. So it's a well-supported system. If you like it, if you love it, there's tons for you to go and play with. And I've been criticized in the past because I say, hey, I'm ready for some Russians and some Eastern Front stuff, and give me some action on Terroir, Guadalcanal. And I've had people say it's called Heroes of Normandy, the base system. This is Shadows over Normandy. And they've always said, you can't just go over that. I'm like, why not? Couldn't they do Heroes of Stalingrad? Keep it kind of in the same feeling? And there were people like, This, my friends, is called kicking open the door. It is still in Normandy. Normandy's still in there, but this is Cthulhu. If they can do it with Cthulhu, they can go to Stalingrad, or they can go to Guadalcanal. They can give us some Japanese troops, some Russian troops. Heck, they can put this in the desert. Although I always find desert maps boring. So maybe we don't want to do it in the desert. Tactical stuff in the desert, All right. So, Shadows over Normandy. Love the you see those that shall not be named, and I know I keep messing that up, but that's what I always say. You see them and your guys panic. They get afraid. You draw the tokens. You don't know exactly what they're going to do. Are they going to just freeze? Are they going to go rage and charge in? Do they start screaming and panicking? What do they do? I love that aspect of it. So the way they've worked that in is very Cthulhian. I'm sure that's wrong for you Cthulhu people out there. Cthulhian? It's right in with the mythos. And I think those that like the Heroes of Normandy system will enjoy this because it is that first tweak. There's some different tweaks to the rules. You got these mythical things in there that can break down all the, there's no historical rules that you got to follow with those. Hey, this thing's amphibian. It moves through water areas. Great. It scares you. There's this totem that goes up, and now they have a bigger sphere of influence. So I think those that love it, if you wanted to spin off with the genre, perfect. Those from Cthulhu that want a tactical feel, this is very unique for you guys. So, because I've known a few people that love that whole Lovecraftian universe. But I don't always see them playing, don't usually see them playing any war games. So this is kind of a nice marrying of genres there. So that's really about it. It's so well supported that I am looking for many things to come. Hello, Yellow and Devil Pig. Pacific. All right. But you should never beg for other things when you're reviewing a thing. So there you go. Shadows over Normandy. Lovecraftian. In my statue. See you guys. Chief, bonding with board games. Goofy as always. No crazy hat.